For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry announced he will resign once a transitional presidential council is created, bowing to international pressure and pressure on the island by armed gangs calling for a new government. Some experts say they've unleashed a low-scale civil war. Henry made the announcement early today, hours after officials, including Caribbean leaders with CARICOM and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, met in Jamaica to discuss a solution to stop Haiti's spiraling crisis. Henry has been unable to enter Haiti because of the violence that closed its main international airports. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced $100 million to finance the deployment of a multinational force mission to Haiti, following another $33 million in humanitarian aid, and the creation of a joint proposal agreed on by Caribbean leaders and Haitian stakeholders that would expedite a presidential college. Haitian gangs have warned against outside powers trying to install a government on the island nation. An aid ship with some 200 tons of food has set sail for Gaza. The food was gathered by the World Central Kitchen, a charity founded by celebrity chef Jose Andres, and is being transported by the Spanish aid group Open Arms. The ship departed the nation of Cyprus today. It's expected to arrive in Gaza in 2 to 3 days. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a ceasefire in Gaza and the delivery of humanitarian aid at a massive scale at the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Christopher Martinez reports.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke to reporters at UN headquarters, noting that it's been 6 months since the Hamas terror attacks on Israel and what he calls the catastrophic Israeli onslaught on Gaza.
My strongest appeal today is to honor the spirit of Ramadan by silencing the guns and removing all obstacles to ensure the delivery of life-saving aid at the speed and massive scale required. At the same time, and in the Ramadan spirit of compassion, I call for the immediate release of all hostages.
He says the most compelling calls for action have come from families of the victims of war, Israeli hostage families and Palestinian families.
We have witnessed months after months of civilian killing and destruction at a level that is unprecedented in all my years as Secretary General. Meanwhile, life-saving relief for Palestinians in Gaza is coming in trickles, if it comes at all.
Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
Presidential primaries are taking place in Georgia, Hawaii, Mississippi, and Washington states today. The protest movement to vote uncommitted in the Democratic primary over Joe Biden's support of Israel's war in Gaza is spreading to the swing state of Georgia. Catherine Carley reports.
The Gaza protest vote movement is spreading beyond Michigan, even as Biden is locking up the nomination. Edward Ahmed Mitchell with the Council on American Islamic Relations says they're calling on voters in today's Georgia primary to leave that line in their ballots blank.
Democratic leaders should go to President Biden and say, look, you've got to stop this genocide. You've got to stop this madness, because there are voters in Georgia who, on principle, are not going to vote for you if this violence continues.
I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
President Joe Biden released his budget for the next fiscal year. It includes an expanded child tax credit that expired in 2021. Max Pringle reports.
Biden says his plan preserves Social Security and Medicare, while the Republicans and Trump have put the programs on the chopping block.
I'm never going to allow that to happen. I will protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare and make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
Biden said his budget will make affordable housing a priority. He said the lack of housing stock is contributing to skyrocketing housing costs, and his spending plan would help remedy that.
2 million more affordable homes.
Biden said he won't pay for the programs he's proposing by raising taxes on ordinary Americans, and will instead raise taxes on those who can most afford to pay a little more.
Nobody, well, as long as I'm president, who earns less than $400,000, it's a lot more than I ever made, will pay an additional penny in federal taxes. Nobody.
The president traveled Monday to Manchester, New Hampshire, where he called on Congress to apply his $2,000 cap on drug costs and $35 insulin to everyone, not just people who have Medicare. House Republicans on Thursday voted their own budget resolution for the next fiscal year out of committee, saying it would trim deficits by $14 trillion over 10 years. reducing $8.7 trillion in Medicare and Medicaid expenditures. Biden has pledged to stop any cuts to Medicare. I'm Max Pringle.
The president's budget also includes record military spending, according to the National Priorities Project, more than $1 trillion, including $850 billion for the Pentagon, a $33.8 billion increase. It's 10 times the budget for the Department of Education, 7 times the funding for the Department of Health and Human Services. The analysis from the National Priorities Project says if we are ever going to stop the cycle of endless war, we'll have to invest differently. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.